Welcome back to the front office. Time for the weekend, focusing on those events played out over the coming week through the lens of the sports bookmaker, with recommended staking strategies and future markets examined in detail. Gives any viewer the inside mail on the sport of their choice. All right, let's get stuck into it. We've got the number one seed, the CEO, the director. Call him whatever you like. Don't call him late for dinner. Tristan Merlehan from our great partners at TopSport.com.au, joining us live from Brisbane. G'day, Tristan.
G'day, Jimmy. Yeah, it's a little bit quieter this Thursday compared to last week, where we had the Oaks Day right in the middle of the division, and just as we started last week, Willowy hit the line hard, and a few of the traders weren't too happy. But it's a little bit calmer at our end this week. It was a huge week last week. Now we've got a big week of sport ahead of us, so very excited to have a chat today.
Why don't we start with some NFL too, mate? We've got, of course, the first game here in Australia is Friday. Thursday night footy, the Ravens up against the Dolphins. What are you liking out of this one?
This one's an interesting game. It's $1.27, the Ravens. Miami's $4. They're the home side. They've been a funny old team this year. It's 7.5 the line and the total points of 46. The Dolphins are only 2-7 this year. They went into the season with a lot of expectation, but they just haven't delivered. And the Ravens, on the other hand, are sitting 6-2. They're up the top of the division. But they've had a lot of games where they've been in trouble and they've got themselves out of trouble, which has all been down to a man by the name of Lamar Jackson. He is a very, very good player. He's a well-renowned player. And if the market I actually wanted to touch on, as opposed to the game itself, is his passing yards. The line is set at 239.5. So what that means for punters out there is you're backing him to either pass for over 240 yards or for under 240 yards. And it's set at $1.90 each of two. These markets are available in the player bet section of our website. There's a myriad of different options there, but it's a really good one because Lamar, over his career, he's been known for a rusher. He's one of the best rushing quarterbacks in the league, and he's leading the league in rushing yards this year as well. He's actually 100 clear of the next quarterback in line, and he's 300 clear of the third quarterback. But having a look at the vision on the screen at the moment, look at these big plays that he's setting up. Every one of these touchdowns that we've seen have gone for over 30, 40. This one's gone for 70 yards. He's got a massive arm on him, but it's underrated, and there's so much focus on his rushing ability. And I think what that means is that the way the defensive lines play, they're trying to stop the rush. So what it does is it creates so many opportunities for big ball threats down the park. And his line is actually very low compared to other quarterbacks. As we said, it was 239.5. He's actually averaging 275.5 over the course of the year. He's gone over his line 7 out of the 8 games. And he's playing a team in Miami that have the second worst defense in terms of receiving yards in the league. So to me, that stacks up to a really good bet. I'm really, really keen on the overs here. The only thing you've got to be a little bit mindful of is if Baltimore get out to a big lead against Miami, which is on the cards and a chance, there is a chance that they do focus more on the rush. But as we touched on, if the defense is knowing that, all he needs is 1 or 2 big plays down the field. You can see how explosive he is. He needs 1 or 2 of those big plays to cover that line. He's done it in 7 of the 8 games so far this season.
All right, that's Friday morning our time. Monday morning our time. There's a heap of games on, including the Minnesota Vikings travelling to SoFi Stadium in Los Angeles to take on Justin Herbert and his Chargers. What are you seeing here, Tristan?
I see this game as a really interesting game. The Vikings are $2.43. The Chargers are $1.58. The line is 2.5 in this one. It's just heading out the Chargers' way. There's been a bit of news in the press over the last 24 hours about Dalvin Cook, who's very important for the Vikings. He's a key player for them. They haven't ruled him out yet, but there's a bit of uncertainty on his status. The total points, though, were 53.5. These sides have been putting on a lot of points. There's been a lot of big balls thrown by the quarterback. Kirk Cousins, in particular, for the Vikings. Despite them sitting only at a 3-5 record, he's been sending some big balls downtown. We see here that he's opened up the defence. He's probably had his best season for a long time, even though they haven't been winning a lot of games. Now, the players are really, really enjoying their football as well for the Vikings, which is interesting to see when they haven't been winning a lot of games, but they're out there dancing, having a bit of fun. Even Kirk Cousins is getting in on the act with his own dance move, which I think is actually a throwback to when Jimmy used to play NRL a few years ago. So they're similar sort of moves, I've been told. But the other team on the game is the Chargers, and Justin Herbert is an absolute star of this league. He's going to be one of the best players for a long, long, long time to come, and he knows when to throw, he knows when to run, and he's still underrated. He's still not in that top echelon of quarterbacks publicly, but I think he's having such a good season, and he's really pushed his side to top of a very, very tough division, which we're going to touch on later. But the thing that I really like about him is he makes the really important decisions. He knows when to pass, he knows when to throw, and he doesn't make silly errors. And I think that's why his team have been winning the close games and they've been sitting up the top of the table. So with all of this in mind, and the fact that I touched on with Delvin Cook potentially missing the game or at least being a little bit distracted, I get the feeling there's going to be a lot of deep balls thrown. I think there's going to be a lot of offensive-minded attack, and I really like the overs in this game. The 53.5, despite it being a big number, both of these sides have a habit of putting on points. And for punters out there that aren't real NFL aficionados, when teams throw the ball a lot more, it really elevates the points because it means the clock stops more regularly. When they're rushing the ball a lot, the clock runs, and it takes a lot of time out of the game. So if the fact which I'm reading it is correct, if I think there's going to be more balls thrown in this game than a normal game between these two sides, I'm just not sure the bookies have factored that into the market, and I think it should be 2 or 3 points higher. I think the over 53.5 is a decent play.
More exclusive dancing content on my TikTok account too, so make sure you subscribe to that one. We had the first semi-final of the T20 World Cup. It was a massive upset. New Zealand have made their way into the final, but tonight this is going to be a cracker. What is the market saying about Pakistan and Australia, Tristan?
Yeah, the market's saying it's going to be a very, very close match. The Pakistan team are $1.88. Now, they were $12 at the start of the tournament. They're going into the semi-final as a favourite. Australia are $1.99. They've been a little bit of support for them over the last 24 hours. They were $2.05 yesterday. They're into $1.97. So the market is coming for Australia. It's going to be a really good game. Be really mindful of the toss. The toss is so key, particularly at this ground and the time slot. The dew gets on the ball, and the side that's batting second is going to be very, very favoured. If Australia bat second, they're going to come into favourites. If Pakistan bat second, they're going to go into about $1.70. Now, we've had a chat to our man Brad Haddad recently, and he's very, very keen on the power play deciding the outcome of this game, and I am too. I think the power play is going to determine which side gets over the line here, and there's a key market that we want to have a look at. It's actually the most wickets between two of the top bowlers. It's Mitchell Starc for the Aussies and Shaheen Afridi for the Pakistanis. It's 181 Mitchell Starc, 199 Afridi. Now, they're sitting 7 and 6 in terms of wickets taken for this event, so they're pretty even, and that's why the market is reflective as such. Now, Mitchell Starc is a big game player. We know he can swing the ball, and I just get the feeling in a big game like this, the big players are going to step up. And if we can see him moving the ball like he has in years gone by, have a look at this ball against the Pakistani top order. I'm not sure about that shot. That was one I played on Tuesday night when I was in my indoor cricket league. So I'm not 100% sure he's going to get the batsman playing those type of balls. But the way that ball ducked in late, if there's a bit of dew in the air, if he bowls in the favourable time slot, I think he's going to be very hard for the Pakistan bowlers to keep out. And I think him in that matchup is a very, very good option. I think he's going to get a couple of wickets. And I think Australia, if that happens, I think Australia's going to be very hard to beat. It'll set up a really good grand final against our arch rivals in New Zealand.
Oh, wouldn't you love to see that? 1 o'clock Friday in New South Wales. So, and of course, midnight up in Queensland. Yeah, we're looking forward to that game. Absolute beauty. Now, I know Spring Carnival's just about wound down, but we have racing up at Newcastle on Saturday, mate. You've got to leave the viewers with a tip for the weekend, surely.
I do. We've got a big day of racing at Newcastle. We've got the Hunter on there, but we've also got the Cranbourne Cup in Victoria, which is a really big meeting. It's sort of a traditional meeting. Historically, it was before the Cup, but it's gone back to 1600. I really like one there in that race. It's number 11, Our Playboy. That's race 7 at Cranbourne. It actually raced on States Day in the opening race, and it knocked off the hot pot. The hot pot didn't go that well, but it came home and it actually veered in the last 50 metres. It straighted out and it just got its head down at the right time, which I think is good for a couple of reasons. If it had won by the 3 or 4 lengths, I think it probably should have. The price wouldn't have been anywhere near the $4.60 it opened, and is $3.90 now. And it also shows that there's a little bit of gas in the tank. The Kent Yard's a very, very shrewd operation, and the fact that they're backing it up a week after that effort, I think they think there's a little bit of gas left. I think at $3.90, it'll start below $3.50. I think it's going to be very hard to beat, and I think if it can make that flashing run late, you'll be in a really good spot at around about that $3.90 mark at the moment.
Hey Tristan, it's our last show for 2021. Thank you very much for your support. We really appreciate it. Been outstanding, and let's look forward to doing it again next year.
Yeah, thanks for having us, Jimmy. We've loved doing it. I think we've been able to hopefully tip a few winners out, and it's been a very informative show, all the other segments. So really enjoyed being part of it. Thanks for all your involvement, and thanks for everyone out there watching and listening.
Yeah, great to have partners like TopSport, and we are certainly appreciative of it here at the front office. That wraps things up for this show for this year. In fact, on behalf of Rami and myself, I want to say a big thank you to all the team at Ausbiz, in particular Kylie Merritt and David Kosh, and also, most notably, our executive producer Leah Gibbons and her team here as well. Been absolutely outstanding. In the meantime, I hope everyone has a happy holiday period, a great weekend, and a prosperous new year as well. Thanks very much.